All right, today we're going to break down one of the most famous cities on the planet, New York City. Have you ever wondered how a place this big, this complex actually works? Well, let's dive in and find out.
So, let's start with a big number. We're talking over 8 million people. That's right, 8 million people call this place home. That makes it the most populated city in the whole United States. To put that into perspective, it's kind of like taking the entire country of Switzerland and fitting it all into one city. Yeah, that's the scale we're dealing with.
And, a number like that brings up a huge question, right? How does a city that massive actually function day to day? We're going to get into what makes this concrete giant tick, starting right from the ground up.
Okay, so to really get New York, you have to start with its geography. And here's the thing you might not realize. Most of the city isn't actually on the mainland. Nope, it's mostly built on a bunch of islands, all clustered together at the mouth of the Hudson River. And they're all connected by this huge web of bridges and tunnels. That's a big part of why it became such an important city.
So the city itself is split into 5 big sections. The official name for these is boroughs. And really, the best way to think about a borough is like it's a giant district, almost its own little city, with a completely unique personality. So let's get to know them.
And really, each one is completely different. You've got Manhattan, which is that famous island packed with skyscrapers. Then there's the Bronx. It's the only borough that's mostly on the U.S. mainland. Brooklyn is famous for its incredible culture and neighborhoods. Queens is the biggest one by area. And then you have Staten Island, which is connected by that massive Verrazano Narrows Bridge. So yeah, 5 really different places that all come together to make one giant city.
All right, so we've got the layout down. Now let's look up. Because, let's be honest, nothing says New York City more than that incredible, world-famous skyline. I mean, these are buildings that people recognize all over the planet.
So what's the tallest point on that skyline? That would be One World Trade Center. And check this out. It stands at a very, very specific height, 1,776 feet. And that number is totally on purpose. It's a nod to the year 1776. The year of American independence. Pretty cool, right? And of course, you absolutely cannot talk about the skyline without mentioning this icon, the Empire State Building. For more than 40 years, this building was the tallest in the entire world. And get this, for a fun fact, it was built in just a little over 1 year. I mean, that's just an incredible feat of engineering, and it's still this huge symbol of ambition.
Then, standing out there in the harbor, you've got the Statue of Liberty. It was a gift from France, and for millions of immigrants arriving by boat, this was the very first thing they saw of America. Just imagine that. What a powerful symbol of hope and a new beginning.
And another star of the show is definitely the Chrysler Building. You just can't miss that shiny, pointed top, that classic Art Deco style. For a little while, it was actually the tallest building in the world, and a lot of people still say it's the most beautiful one in the city.
And this is something you really feel when you're walking around on the street. It's like you're walking through time. You've got these historic stone buildings right next to these super modern gleaming towers made of glass. It's that mix of old and new, side by side.
Okay, so we have millions of people and all these giant buildings packed together. The big question is, how on earth does anybody get around? Let's take a look at what keeps this city on the move 24/7.
Well, first thing you need to know is that most New Yorkers don't own cars. I know it's not what you see in the movies, but with the streets so crowded and parking being, well, almost impossible, a car just isn't practical for most people. So what's the alternative?
Well, getting around is basically a 3-part system. First, you have to master the subway. It's this massive underground train system that runs all day, every day, 24/7. Learning that map is a life skill there. Then, for shorter trips, walking is super common. It's often the fastest way to go. And of course, you can always hail one of those famous yellow cabs for a quick ride across town.
But here's the thing. The city isn't just about the concrete and the steel. Not at all. The real heart of New York, its real energy, that comes from the people. It's this incredible mix of cultures that makes the city feel like you're visiting the entire world all in one place. You've probably heard the term melting pot used to describe New York, and it's a perfect description. It really is a place where all these different people and cultures from all over the world come together and, well, blend. They create something new and totally unique. And you see this diversity absolutely everywhere. I mean, you can hear hundreds of different languages just on one subway ride. You can find food from pretty much every single continent. And there are constantly festivals and holidays happening that celebrate cultures from all around the globe.
This mix of cultures is so strong that entire neighborhoods have their own global roots. Places like Chinatown or Little Italy, for example. You can walk into these areas and feel like you've been transported to a different country, with all the sights, sounds, and smells to match.
Okay, so we've established it's a packed, high-energy city. So where do 8 million people go to relax and have some fun? Well, it turns out there's a lot more green in this concrete jungle than you might think.
Let's talk about the big one, Central Park. We're talking 843 acres. That is a huge green space smack dab in the middle of Manhattan. It's got lakes, walking paths, even a zoo. To give you some scale, that's bigger than the entire country of Monaco. It really is the city's backyard.
But that's not the only one. Over in Brooklyn, you've got Prospect Park, which is another massive spot for people to get outdoors. And here's a cool little fact. It was designed by the same people who designed Central Park. It's got these huge open fields that are perfect for playing sports.
And speaking of fun, sports are a huge deal in New York. The city is home to some of the most famous teams in the world. You've got the Yankees and the Mets in baseball, the Knicks in basketball, the Giants and the Jets in football, and it even hosts the U.S. Open, one of the biggest tennis tournaments on the planet. So there you have it. From its foundation of islands to its sky-high buildings and all the millions of people who call it home, that's a quick look at how New York City works. It's this huge, complicated place that's always changing. So that leaves us with one last question for you. If you could add one new thing to a city like this, what would it be?